All right. Hello, everyone. This is take two of why trying too much pushes him away and what to do instead. My name is Matthew Coast, and today this video is for you if you are in a relationship or you've been dating a guy and you feel like you're doing a lot in the relationship or a lot for him. You feel like you're putting a lot of energy or effort or investment into this guy, and you feel like maybe he's pulling away from you, or he's not really responding to you, or maybe you're even at a point where you feel like you're losing him completely. And so we're going to be talking about three ways that this happens, and what you should be doing instead of those different ways. And so today I have with me my two people on this live stream with me. One of them is my YouTube partner in crime, Helena Hart. Say hi, Helena.
Hey everyone, we're so excited to be here, and we're also here with my friend Anya Grace, who is just amazing. Anya and I have been doing a lot of live streams and working on some things over on my channel, so we wanted to bring her on here because she just gives such a unique perspective on feminine energy and all of these really important concepts that we talk about over here on Commitment Connection. So we're really excited. Yeah, super excited to talk about this topic.
Awesome. And so it looks like everything's working. We've got people on. So hi, Camelia. Hi, Katharina. Katharina. I'm kind of bad with names. I'll apologize right now about that. So let's go ahead and get started here. The first one, did you want to go ahead and launch into them, Helena?
Sure, yeah. So the first way that women try too hard and it ends up actually pushing a man away when what they want is the opposite, when they're trying to bring him closer, right? And a lot of these are really unintentional. And I will say that the last one we're going to share is probably one of the most common ones that we see, and it's really subtle. We can all do this and we don't even realize it. So make sure to stay till the end of this video to get that one. But the first one is something we call over-functioning, right? That's stepping into your masculine energy and doing too much, leaning forward constantly, giving to get, which means giving something because you're trying to get something from a man in return on a very subtle level, like more love or affection or even time or commitment from him. So overfunctioning is one of the more obvious ones, but it can be easy to do this especially when we feel a man slipping away. As women, it's like this natural tendency to want to close that gap and do whatever we think it's going to take in order to avoid having him slip through our fingers, right? Anya, I would love to hear everything you have to say about that because it's really common.
Absolutely, yeah. So specifically as women, everybody, we've all been taught that our value comes from what we do and what we accomplish and how we look. It's all from the outside. And that's actually really counteractive to the true power and value we bring as women specifically, because what we talk a lot about, it's all about the energy. It's all about the energy that you're bringing and how you make them feel. So by doing things, you're saying basically my value is not inherent. I have to do all these things in order to be worthy of your love, versus basically leaning back and knowing that you're the one who gets to receive that action and the penetration of his doing and his functioning. And ultimately that's going to support you to be more radiant, more beautiful, and he'll feel that energy. You'll feel your divine feminine, beautiful energy just emanating from you. So it's about, really moving away from believing that our value is in these external accomplishments, like how much money we make. We think that we need to be successful to be worthy of a man, and that's not, just do you, whatever that looks like. And it's not going to mean you're going to push away or attract your person. If they're meant to be with you, they'll be with you for your essence. So
yeah,
that's what I have to
absolutely
say.
Yeah. So what does overfunctioning look like in real life? That looks like anything that looks like leaning forward or filling the space. That could be always being the one to initiate contact with a man, always being the one to set up the plans and ask him out and drive to him and pay for everything, always initiating physical affection and sex every single time when he's not, doing those things ever. Anything else you can think of?
Yeah, I always say basically what you do at the beginning of the relationship will set up the tone for the rest of the relationship. So if you're calling him first, and if you're making dinner every single night and doing his laundry and folding his clothes and massaging his feet and like doing all these things, which are awesome, beautiful gifts, and it's not that you don't get to do that for your person. It's just know that basically the dynamic that is set up at the beginning of the relationship will move through the entire rest of the relationship. So really ask yourself, like, how do you want to feel? What do you want to experience when you're with this person? Do you want to be like, if you want to be doing all those things forever and ever and ever, and you feel it's equal, then that's awesome. But I actually help women understand that it's like for every 10 action things that he does for you, for every 10 ways of stepping into his service, do one thing in response, like let it build up on his side, basically, because that it's not as much energy actually for a man to actively do something to support you. First, because that's more the masculine energy, is the penetrating external outward focus, whereas our energy is more on an internal plane. So by leaning back and actually having him do more of those outward actions, it actually creates the correct polarity that can create the most harmony. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just about, I feel like Matt wants to jump in and say
something. I do actually want to jump in.
Yeah,
and
say
go ahead. So there's, I just want to mention this one thing because I think it's really important, and it's something that a lot of people don't really realize is going on. And it's that a lot of people, what we tend to do is we tend to do to others what we want them to do to us, right? And I actually learned this when I was like, I think I was like 23 or 24 or something like that, and I was kissing this girl, and we're like making out, you know, and she like put her hand over and started rubbing on my ear, you know, and I'm like, what is she doing, you know? and like, you know, later on, like she did it again, you know, and I'm like, why is she doing that to my ear? It's just so weird, you know, and like I got this idea popped up into my mind, like, why don't you try doing that to her? Right. And I did it to her, and she was like, you know, like really into it, and she like really liked it. And I was, you know, all of a sudden, like this massive realization hit me, and I was like, whoa, you know, like, you know, I've always tried to do these things that I thought women wanted, but it was really types of things that I wanted women to do with me. Right. And I've been finding that more and more. And if you've ever, there's a book out there, and we talk about it all the time. Everybody talks about it. It's called The 5 Love Languages, and it's a really good book. And one of the things that they talk about is these different ways that people like to receive love. And a lot of times what ends up happening is that instead of figuring out how the person we're with, the person we're in a relationship with, likes to receive love, we think about how we like to receive love and then try to give love in that same way. And it ends up a lot of times, if your love language is, you know, the things that the ways that you like to receive love aren't the same as your partner's, a lot of times that ends up really messing things up, because they don't get that you're showing them love when you are. And so they aren't receiving it the way that you're hoping that it comes across. And so this happens all the time. And you know, other ways that women do this, a lot of times they'll buy guys stuff. You know, like I've seen that happen all the time, where girls like, oh yeah, I bought him this giant, you know, liquor set that I get, you know, for, you know, this, you know, because I just wanted to show him how much I appreciate him. And you know, like if you show interest to a guy, it's not a bad thing. We're not saying that you can't show a guy interest or you can't do anything, right? Because that's like the opposite extreme, right? If a guy doesn't feel like you're interested in him, then he might just stop trying altogether. Because one of the worst things that a guy can experience in his entire life is being put into the friend zone. And guys, it happens all the time for guys. It's like the #1 complaint from guys is that they land in the friend zone. And a lot of guys will do anything not to land in the friend zone. So if he thinks he's pursuing you and you're not interested at all, you know, he might just stop altogether. So there's a middle ground. There's a middle ground to everything we talk about. You know, it's funny because a lot of times we'll talk about things and people immediately go to the other extreme, right? They're like, oh, so don't put in tons of work. So that means that I don't do anything at all. And I just, completely ignore him. And if he tries to communicate with me, I'll just, block him. And, hopefully he'll, if he really loves me, he'll figure out how to communicate with me somehow, and you're like, no, this is the wrong direction here. There's a middle ground here, and I think it's very important to talk about that and be aware of that when we're doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything you want to say about it?
Yes. Giving back to a man is fantastic. If he's been pursuing you, showing interest, giving to you, of course, giving from that full place. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that too. It's when we're giving because we don't feel full. We're giving and overfunctioning and doing too much because we're trying to make something happen. Or get something from a man that he's not just giving you on his own right now. That's when it falls into this overfunctioning category. You're giving from a place of like emptiness rather than just overflowing because this is like who you are. This is what you want to do, right?
Right, because when we're giving and giving and giving and we're not necessarily receiving, that's basically us saying we don't value what we're giving. And the gifts of our presence and what we're doing are not as valuable as, something that he does. So it's like that 1 to 10 ratio. It's more just coming from the place of value, like the night that you cook him dinner, value that, or when you give him a back massage, like put so much love and attention and care on that moment as an act of gratitude or however it is that he will appreciate you, that he'll feel loved by you. And however authentically feels natural to, really express your gratitude to him. It's all about authenticity, but value what you're giving. And that's really, I think that's the key piece is it's like, I think so many women undervalue their presence in relationship. And so they think that they need to, I hear this all the time, like it's such a funny example, but make him soup when he's sick and bring it to him. Like, no, don't necessarily. And if you're in a relationship and you're in that dynamic, like, that's awesome. But at the very beginning of a relationship, like that's a really big give. That's a really, really big offer. This is just my perspective. There's no right or wrong, but this is just my experience. There can be such an imbalance. And that's why I kind of go to that other side.
That's funny. That example is so funny. I have a really close guy friend who's is dating someone and he had a surgery or something and she made him chicken soup and brought it over and then proceeded to take pictures of it and send it to all his family. Like, look at this thing I did for him. And kind of holding it over his head. Like, well, I made you soup. And he's like, I rather that you just hadn't done that. If you're going to keep bringing it up and want something from me because you did this. So perfect example of that. Yeah. If you're giving to a man, I mean, it's great. If you're giving because it feels good to you, it's sensually feels good in the cells of your body to do this for him, then that's fantastic. So it's all about where you're coming from with a lot of these, right?
Exactly. And because one of the things that takes love away is when we hold back sharing our love. So we don't want to like suppress our own desire to be loving and offer and give, but it's like really getting into, okay, how much have I really been filled up in this relationship? And again, coming back to that dynamic thing, like the last relationship I was in, I remember having a moment. I was on the couch. We were watching our show, and I recognized how often like my partner, he would get up. He would be the one to get up, get the clicker. He would be the one to go to the kitchen, grab like water or popcorn or whatever. He would be the one to get up and do these amazing things. And I just got to sit back and relax and receive. And I thought back to past relationships like way long ago, where I was that one to like get up, run around, like like dote on this person. And what I've realized we talk a lot about like inspiring a man's masculine potential. You can inspire a man's masculine potential to get up and do things and wield his different swords and tools, be in this physical world because men are physically oriented. And that actually helps him feel powerful. So it's not men like to, and Matt, I don't know what you have to say on it, like if you can, what you feel about what I'm saying, but in my experience, men actually really appreciate having the opportunity to do those things because it helps them feel purposeful and in their power as masculine men.
Well, and yeah, absolutely. So men like doing that if they feel like they're being received well and they feel like they're being appreciated for it, and they feel like they are being the man of the relationship, and it's not kind of this obligation thing or an expectation type of thing. As long as they're doing it and they're doing it from a place of them like giving of themselves and being received fully, it's a really, really powerful place. And so real quick here, I want to, if you're watching right now, I'd love to hear what you think, like what kind of behaviors do men have that are really attractive to you, right? So what do guys do that can be really, really attractive when they're around you? What, tell us here in the comments. And we've got a lot of people here right now talking to us. So, yeah, so if you're here, say hi, and if you're here, let us know what you think a man can do that's really, really attractive to you. And so one other thing that I want to mention here is that we just got a membership thing on our YouTube channel. And so below this video right here, there should be a link that says become a member. And if you click on that, it's $5 a month. And we're going to be uploading lots of really great content, exclusive content for people that are in our membership, talking about why men pull away, what to do in difficult situations, how to have, difficult conversations with men, different ways to text and talk to guys. And our wonderful and beautiful and amazing Helena Hart is actually, she wants this to be something that she does, these live streams to be something that she does all the time. And I know a lot of you out there really like it. And so if you're interested in having more content and exclusive content just for you about what your biggest questions and interests are, then sign up for our membership. And, we thank you very much for that, because, we all want Helena to be doing these live streams full time. It's part of Helena's dream.
Oh, it's so weird not being able to see the comments right now.
I know.
That's not letting me look at the comments. You said it looks weird on my phone during a live stream. It looks like I'm texting, which is totally fine. We'll be answering your questions too if you're a member. So become a member. We'll answer your personal questions during these live streams, which I know a lot of people love too.
Awesome. Cool. So you want to move on to number 2?
Yeah. Number 2, the second way women try too hard and it pushes men away is, this one's a little counterintuitive. It's pretending anything, really, pretending anything. We hear from so many women, Anya, I bet you do too, who just, like this relationship is exhausting or dating is exhausting. And what we would say is, like dating in and of itself is not exhausting. It's pretending, like keeping up this facade, pretending that you're someone you're not, pretending you don't care when you really do, trying to be that like detached, cool girl, pretending something doesn't bother you when it really does, and not setting that boundary, just pretending to be easygoing because you don't want a guy to think you're high maintenance. Anything like that can really become exhausting after a while. And even if a guy, is attracted to you, you wouldn't even believe that anyway, because it's like it breeds this insecurity because he's being attracted to this facade you're putting up. So that's one way we see women trying too hard, doing too much, and it has the opposite effect of what they want. Anya, what do you think about that?
Yeah, we can ultimately realize suddenly that we have been completely inauthentic in all of our relationships, and that's I actually had that like a few years ago. I was realizing I was really stepping up and trying to be this person that I decided was valuable and what people would like and would love. And I made friends and I was in relationships, but I wasn't authentic. And when I had that moment that I was like, wow, I don't even know if these close friends that I have really know who I am, So and even listening to these videos and absorbing all this content is so powerful, and it really helped to transform your lives. And at a certain point too, it's also knowing that this information gets to drop into the body. And ultimately, like when you show up on a date, it's not about thinking what's the right next thing to do. It's about feeling like, what do I want to feel right now? And just, it's really about embodying your truth and not trying to be what you decided is the perfect picture, because that is ultimately what men, in my experience, are really wanting is the true feminine energy, which is dynamic and it's natural. It's totally organic. Like it's not conditioned. It's completely, it's like nature, you know, it springs up here and it springs up there, and there's no order to it necessarily. So when we decide, okay, I need to be perfect, I need to like really fit myself into this box, even though it's not really me, that's super detrimental in my experience.
Yeah, and I think, and Matt, we'd love to hear what you have to say on this. Men can pick it up when you're being inauthentic. Like if what you're feeling on the inside is not congruent with your words and body language, the way you're presenting yourself on the outside, a man can feel that. Often he might not be able to like put his finger on it, but he can tell you're doing something, or he can feel the disconnect in your energy and your vibe, and it makes him not trust you on a deep level. Like classic examples, like when a woman is clearly, you know, enraged and angry about something, but she just goes quiet and shuts down emotionally, or even worse, pastes a fake smile on her face and gets extra sweet and understanding when deep down it's pretty obvious she's feeling something strongly, but not able to like authentically convey that. So it doesn't do anything good in our relationship to pretend, right?
Can I say one more thing really quick on this? Like, that pretending that something doesn't bother you and being the cool girl, like we talked about before, it's, we feel like we can be too much, you know, like that's such a constant thing I hear from so many women. Like, well, if I really share how I'm feeling, like, is he going to be able to handle it? Like, is it going to be too much? And the way I see it is, it's, well, what's authentic to you? Because if you're suppressing those emotions, you're also suppressing so many other things that ultimately could be so beautiful in your relationship. You really want to attract somebody and be with somebody who can handle all of you. So why become smaller and more contracted, and why not just be free and wild? Because that energy brings so much joy into a man's life. Like, I've heard this from my partners in the past, like how just that energy, the emotion, the fluctuations, it's like it's color in a more, the power of the masculine energy is in simplicity. There's so much power to the simplicity of the masculine nature, whereas the feminine is very dynamic. So put those two together and there's such a beautiful balance. So if we, you know, think that we need to cover up what actually is wild, and if we're feeling emotions that we are ashamed of and hiding that, then we're really, you know, kind of making a colored movie become a black and white. And there's so much less joy that can happen in that relationship.
Yeah, I love that. Anya has this
so much more to say.
I know. I can tell. Anya has this amazing analogy. I was telling Matt, I think yesterday, about this incredible analogy of the masculine energy partner being like the ocean floor or the container for the ocean, which would be the feminine. And I never say it right, but what is it? The ocean floor does not.
Yeah, I wrote this little poem. It's the floor of the ocean does not request that the sea warn him with that the ocean warn him when sea is about to storm. He's ready to handle whatever weather comes his way. He doesn't need her to hide. He doesn't need her to cover up her rage, like, or cover up her tears, or like, he's ready. He's strong enough and stable in himself enough to handle like a tsunami, you know, or the most pristine, beautiful, clear day with her. And it's really his joy to experience those fluctuations, and he knows his importance in that relationship. Without him, there would be no container for her to have this life, and without her, there would not be as much there's just not as much energy to work with. So I really, and then there's a point on the beach when the ocean and the sand meet, the beach meet, and there's this beautiful energy there's this beautiful dance that happens, and the ocean, I keep looking at this picture every time. There's a picture of the ocean here, where the beach and the water really play with one another, and they affect one another. Like, the water will sweep out the sand, and the sand will build up, and they work with one another, they affect one another. So that also kind of goes into the metaphor as well.
Yeah, it's all about being authentic, and congruent. Like, there can't be a disconnect between what you're feeling on the inside, what you're showing on the outside, because you feel like pretending is going to get you somewhere in the relationship. Never works out that way, right?
Yeah, and when we pretend that something doesn't bother us, we're basically disregarding our needs. And when we disregard our needs, we can never be in a relationship that's fully honoring of what we fully bring. And same with, it goes for both sides. Like if men ignore their needs, then they never get to experience the relationship that really fully honors him, and vice versa. Like we need to be so confident in ourselves that we can attract exactly what we want, and strong enough in our boundaries and our yeses and nos that it's easy to say no to a situation that doesn't feel good. It's just simple. It's like, rather than trying to fix that person and make them somebody that will, rise up to your standards, just like have those standards. And if somebody is there naturally, then awesome, they're like a candidate to be in a relationship with you. But if you know that they're not really willing or wanting to be at that level of loving you at the way that really feels good to you, then it's just an easy no thank you. and there's no harm that's done. It's just, this is the level I'm at. I'm a high value person, and I value my energy, my time, my presence. And, I want to experience that in relationship on both sides, I think, on men and women too.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people would love to have a relationship where they can just kind of let go and be in kind of their energy and go through it in that way. And I think one of the big things that stops a lot of people from doing that is just things in the past, that like ways that they've experienced relationships before, maybe pain that they've experienced in relationship before. Specifically, this one that we're talking about right here, where you're pretending, you don't care, you're pretending like something doesn't bother you, etc. I know a lot of women tell me that, they're afraid that they're going to be too nagging. They're afraid that a guy's going to perceive them expressing their true selves as nagging. And what I've found is that it's not really a woman expressing like her feelings and herself as nagging. The creation of expectation around that, or obligation around that a guy really feels is really gross or nagging, because all of a sudden it goes from, this focus on you and how you're feeling and that expression of yourself, to this focus on him, where you're trying to get him to do something and in order to make yourself feel a certain way or something like that. And it, to a guy, that's like, whoa, like, what are you doing right now? And there's another aspect to this as well, the pretending part, which is, and actually the first one as well, where you're kind of, a lot of times it'll come from this space of feeling like, you yourself isn't good enough, the things inside yourself, you're not worthy of being in a relationship, or maybe if he finds out the truth about who you are, he won't really love you for who you are. He won't really like, who you are as a human being. And so a lot of times I know I've done this myself. I mean, I was just at this retreat about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about how I've done a lot of things in my life, accomplished a lot of cool things. And a lot of it came from the space of lack, this place of like, I'm not good enough, right? Like I want to be worthy or deserving of these people. And so I kind of threw people away, and I was like, well, don't talk to me until I got this done. Right. And so then I like went and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do this. And I had this accomplishment, and I'm like, see guys, isn't it cool? And then what I found was a lot of times, like all of a sudden my worst nightmare came to pass, because then instead of liking me for me, they liked me for this accomplishment that I was touting. Right. And so it became exactly what I didn't want. They didn't like me for me. They liked me for something else. And so, I really think that being authentic and connecting with our true selves is the best way forward. And the only way that we can really do that in a powerful way, if we do have a lot of these pains and a lot of these hurts inside of ourselves, is to go in and heal that, is to connect with what's inside there and to, experience it fully, let go, reframe, our beliefs about ourselves and who we are, and then naturally when we go and we're in front of people, when we connect with them, it's not, we don't have to feel like we're pretending anymore. And if we run into people that are pretending, it becomes very apparent very, very quickly. And so that's just throwing out some super person advice there. If you want to be a super person, let's go through some of the comments real quick here. We've got Herlene says use reverse psychology. Yeah. Fatima says you guys look fantastic. Well, thank you, Fatima. Ashley said that the sound keeps cutting out a bit. Sorry about that. We have technical difficulties all the time. We're working on it. We're really working hard at fixing our technical difficulties. It's like a never-ending road here. Thank you, ladies. Perfect ideas and good information. Complicated men. This is so fascinating. You know, I don't know if guys are really that complicated. Maybe we are. What do you think? Do you guys think guys are complicated?
No. No. The simpler form of human. We still just want to be loved and to love. I think we forget that men are actually vulnerable and want to feel love and to love as much as we do. So I think that that's the simple truth.
Mm-hmm. Situation can feel complicated, of course. Yeah. Absolutely. Situations can be complicated. Men are pretty simple, though. They kind of just do what they want to do. Yeah. They go from, it's like a more instinctual place. Like we women can talk ourselves into and out of wanting to do something, even being interested in a guy. Men aren't like that. They follow their instincts. So.
Yeah, and if you find, I think it's really powerful. Matt was talking about that healing. You know, if you look at your relationships in your life, like the last 5 relationships that you've been in, or even the last, let's say, 10 guys you've been on dates with, and the way that those, see if there's patterns in those relationships. Like maybe it's not them that are the source of the complication or the drama, but if it's a pattern that's showing up in your life, like sometimes we attract the same thing, because there's an awesome opportunity to gain power there and to heal some wound that needs to be healed. And also sometimes we'll attract the same thing because it feels comfortable to us, even if it's not serving us and if it's not actually getting us to what we really want. So I think that can happen a lot, is we'll attract, the same kind of relationship because even if it's not exactly what we want, it's comfortable, we know it, we know how it's going to play out, and we can verify what we already know, which is, okay, I'm not worthy, or I'm not enough, or those things, those beliefs, our ego, and there's a part of our personality that would rather know what's going to happen, even if it's not what we want, because it feels safe. So I think it's really powerful if you're finding that, like, there's complications, really take that moment and look within, because we can break patterns so quickly. I talk about, there were these 3 men that I dated, not even dated, but like these, can I share this example? Yeah. Okay. So these 3 guys, they were my best guy friends in college. It was like one right after the other of these 3 relationships where we were first just best friends. And then they started to like me and I wasn't into them. And then over the course of the friendship, I like completely fell in love. And by that point, they didn't love me. They didn't want me. And it was literally 3 relationships in a row, exactly the same, like super, super close. And I remember the last one, I was just, tears, so sad, heartbroken that this guy didn't want to be with me, And I remember that was when I was kind of learning about these patterns that we have to work through. And I was like, okay, this is a pattern, obviously, in my life. It showed up 3 times. Like, I really don't want to feel this pain again. I don't want to feel that the very person who knows me the most doesn't want to be with me. That hurts. And so in that moment, I literally went inside of myself. I put my hands over my heart. I closed my eyes. I took some deep breaths, and I felt how painful it was. I really felt into the heartbreak. And I sat with the pain long enough until it transformed basically into peace and into okay, I accept this. And I also know that I'm never interested in having this experience again. It's I love using the words, I'm not interested in this, or I'm not available, because it's just simply reflective of where you're at. And we can start to use those words in relationship. And with men, it's some guy wants to be in your life, but he only wants a casual thing, and you don't want a casual thing. You don't just want to have sex with him. You want to be more of a more committed relationship. I love using the words you know what? I respect that's where you're at. I'm not interested. I'm not available for it. So I'm not going to be that girl. I'm not going to be that person that's available for that. So I think that that's a really powerful way we kind of pull back and break these patterns that are in our lives and really receive what we want.
Yeah, I'm all about that, breaking patterns. You can do it quickly. I love when you said that. You feel the pain, let yourself feel it. It's the running away from those unpleasant emotions. And we can all get it. I was doing this last week. I had a horrible week and I was feeling really bad. And Matt actually told me you should just let yourself feel what you're feeling instead of, I was like, well, I'm going to go work out and try and make myself feel better. He's like, no, you should actually feel it. That's when things can really start to shift, and it can happen quickly too. So yeah, you're attracting men who feel complicated. There might be something about that feels familiar to you, and your subconscious mind is creating this spark of attraction with the kind of men and situations that feel familiar, because that's where you feel safe. So looking at some of these patterns can be really, really helpful to start to shift things.
Cool. So let's go over a few more comments here real quick. We Photo Gal says, a man can sense when you give whether you have motives or are freely giving, ? Yes, a man can sense whether you're freely giving or whether you have motives or expectations. Trust me. Unless a guy is just completely brain dead, he will feel it when you do that. It's very easy. So Guyane says, a man who so yeah, things that are attractive. Remember, if you're here, tell us what you think guys do that are attractive. What are some behaviors that guys have that are really attractive to you? And Guyane says, a man who knows what he wants. Katharina says, Matt, you're amazing. Oh, thank you. I feel like I'm amazing too. So thank you. Jody says, being strong and holding and hugging. Awesome. Mimi says, keeping his word. Katharina says, I need a man to be much more affectionate all of the time. Might be your love language, right? Physical touch is my love language too.
Me too.
I like hugs. I like massages. I like all that kind of stuff. It's my favorite thing in the world. But some people don't. You need to know that. My suggestion is to find that out as soon as you can in a relationship, because it can really make or break a relationship. Habitude Warrior says, love a strong woman who respects herself as much as I respect her.
Oh,
absolutely.
We know him. We were hanging out with him last night. We told him we were about to do a live stream. Yeah, amazing.
Let's see. Ashley says, within the first 2 weeks of our relationship, I was sick as a dog. Showed up with Halls and chicken noodle, and he showed up with Halls and chicken noodle soup. My heart was melting. There you go. There you go. Sally says, act like a gentleman, open doors and be considerate. Stacy says, Helena in Burgundy, looking great.
Thank you. We went shopping a couple nights ago. Anya was like my stylist. We were like a whirlwind of energy.
It's just like Helena in a shirt.
We closed down the store. We were like going crazy. It was so fun.
Crystal says, has a job and is good to my children. I'd say that's important, both of those things. Amy says, being open with his feelings. Yeah, I mean, there's a if you're, and I just want to throw this out there one more time too. We just got a membership thing on our channel. So if you like these live streams and you want us to do more of them, and you want us to talk about, whatever your issues, your specific situation is, whatever your questions, answering your questions and your concerns, sign up for our membership. We're going to have lots of exclusive content just for you, that you won't get anywhere else on the internet, including in any of our awesome programs that we also have, which you should also buy because they're pretty awesome and they will help you. Did I mention how awesome they are? Helena Hearts is the best. It's feminine enchantment. You should totally join that if you really want to attract and keep the man and relationship of your dreams, because she knows what she's talking about. So, I just want to piggyback off of what you two were saying about the whole kind of healing thing. I think that is some of the most important work that we can do. It's the least thing that people come to us for, because a lot of people I think are scared of it. You know, a lot of people don't want to go through it because it does, you know, it takes courage. It takes real courage to go and look at what's going on, you know, where you have pain, and going and experiencing it fully and letting go of it. You know, it takes courage to let go. You know, a lot of people hold on to stuff because they feel like it's almost a part of their identity. You know, like, I mean, I actually experienced this at the retreat that I was at a couple of weeks ago. I had an experience when I was a child where my mom, you know, she dropped me off at my dad's house, you know, and she was like, hey, you know, I'm gonna, you know, drop you off here for the weekend, you know, get all your stuff together. And she dropped me off, and you know, like, well, I was at my dad's place, and I remember, like, it was a couple hours later, and I was like talking to my dad, and I'm like, hey dad, you know, like, when, you know, what time are you taking me back over to my mom's place? And he was like, oh, your mom didn't tell you? I'm not taking you back. You're staying with me now. Right. And like, for me, it was like this big shock. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Like, what do you mean I'm staying with you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh no, you're going to be living with me from now on, you know? And I've been living with my mom. And so it was like this really weird thing. And like, like I had all these, like that was for me, like this point in my life where I realized that, like, all kinds of things came up for me. Feelings of not being good enough, feelings of like, you know, I'm all on my own, feelings of like, you know, people don't care about me, people don't want me, you know, like all that kind of stuff. And it kind of like led to this thing where I started trying to prove myself, my worth to the world. And I remember, you know, experiencing this at the retreat, you know, and I'm like in there crying and stuff. And I like, I was like, wait, if I let go of this, what do I have? What's going to drive me? What's going to motivate me? What's going to push me to be a great man, to do great things in the world, to build a great business and help lots of people and make a huge impact? What will drive me? Right. And one of the things, I ended up having some conversations with some people there, and they're like, what do you want to drive you? You know? And I'm like, yeah, what do I want? You know, I've been driven by this pain for so long in my life. What would I rather have drive me? And what I figured out was I'd rather have inspiration drive me. You know, I'd rather have passion drive me. I'd rather look at life and not think, oh, I got to get away from this feeling of not being good enough, but instead look at life and be like, man, I want this amazing, awesome life for myself. I want to create this amazing thing in the world. I want to help, you know, people get into partnership, and I want to heal this divide between sexes that we have in America. I want to, you know, create an environment where men and women feel like they're on the same team, moving through this journey in life, in these relationships that are fulfilling and satisfying and amazing. You know, that's what I want for everyone. That's what I want for myself. That's what I want for Helena and Anya and, you know, everybody that's on this live stream with us. And the only way that I can really do that and be in service and a strength of power is if I stop coming from this place of needing, this place of I'm not worthy, this place of I'm not good enough, and come into this place of service, and come into this place of inspiration and passion. Because when I'm passionate, everybody around me can feel it, and they know what's happening there. And when I'm not, and I haven't been a lot in the business, and I know a lot of people, you know, you can talk to Helena, she knows. You know, I've been in a place of resignation a lot. I've been in a place of, you know, kind of being angry and, you know, all these different things. And that doesn't serve, it doesn't serve Helena. It doesn't serve, you know, the other coaches in our business. It doesn't serve you, you know, the viewer watching this right now, whoever you are. It doesn't serve you for us to come from a place of need and a place of feeling like we're not good enough. You know, coming from our higher self is always more powerful for all of us in every situation of our lives. And am I running off on a tangent here?
Powerful.
Super powerful.
So amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I totally resonate just with that. I've actually it literally was crisis in my life, like for a couple years now, still working through it in a sense where I did intentionally exactly kind of what you're talking about, where I realized my motives for everything that I was doing was coming from a place of lack and insecurity. Like from the point of getting up in the morning and doing a meditation practice, like I decided that meditating was going to make me a better, more valuable person. So I did it with that intention in mind. Or exercising and eating right. It was coming from, okay, I need to be this certain way to be valuable and to be worthy. And like everything was running exactly from that place of I need to prove myself. And Helena actually said something that radically changed my life the other day. She said, yeah, you said that why do we think that we need to prove ourselves to the universe? Like think about the universe as your best friend or your lover who's always there, wanting to lift you up to your highest and wanting to provide and protect and to send you so many good things. And I think it's so beautiful. We were talking about relationship here. And I'm just happy that I'm in the field of relationships because I think it's one of the most powerful things to be in this world. Because when it comes down to it, if people are in like a more financial money scene and business, it's like we're in business, but primarily it's all about relationship. And that's amazing because I always think that like people want to have success because ultimately that success will create the freedom in relationships. So I don't know why I said that, but just really honoring like what we're doing here and the depth that this can go. And I always say, we specifically as women, men benefit when we're deep, like physically, emotionally, that intimacy that we can create by actually getting to know our souls at a very deep level. And then you can see other people at a deeper level. And we move away from these superficial relationships and we move away from the superficial life and we actually start to live where really the truth of the matter is and the substance that's so vibrant. So like doing this healing work and just being courageous and looking at the deeper levels, like, yeah, we're talking about what pushes a guy away, but it's ultimately like your whole life can transform by doing these deeper practices, I think.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. So true. It's actually a perfect segue into the third thing. Matt, do you mind if we jump into that, or did you want to add?
Yeah, go ahead. Jump right in.
Yeah, it's exactly what Anya and Matt were just talking about so brilliantly, and that is trying to be perfect. Like the perfect segue is like trying to always say the right thing or present yourself in a way that you think a man's going to be valuable. Kind of like what you're saying, like proving yourself to the universe, and it works in relationships too. Sometimes we like a guy, we start to develop strong feelings for him. Immediately, we put him on this pedestal. It's almost just like an instinctive thing. It's automatic. And even on a very subtle level, we start to try to prove ourselves to him, win his love, win him over, trying too hard. Everything that looks and feels like trying too hard and trying to be perfect happens. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it, but that's not what makes a man truly fall in love. It's what you perceive to be your flaws or imperfections or insecurities. That's what's going to make a man see you. And that's actually like the key to connecting with his heart. It's not being perfect and always having the most brilliant thing to say, right? Yeah. I know you have a lot to say about this one.
Do you want to say something, Matt?
Well, I always have things to say.
I know, we all
do. Because it's funny because a lot of women come to us to learn about what to say, right? They're like, what do I say to this guy? What do I say in all the situations? What do I say to make him attracted to me? What do I say? What do I say? What do I say? What do I say? And we give lots of information on what to say. And, it's interesting. We were actually talking about this on Helena's channel a couple of days ago. And there was this woman that came into our community and she bought one of my programs. It's called the Love Frames Toolkit. And it's this program about how to create the frame or how to create what your relationship is about, right? And it's all words, right? It's how to say things that create a relationship. We talk about how to create boundaries, how to become more valuable, like all kinds of things. And this woman came into our community, our Facebook group. It's called the Goddess Community. If you're not in there, you should go jump in. Just search the Goddess Community on Facebook and join. And this woman, she posted like what she said in this text, right? And it was like one thing that I said in the Love Frames Toolkit after the next, right? I mean, that was the conversation, was literally that. And at the end of it, she's like, what do I say next? And you're like, you know, like having, you know, when we give you something to say, or we help you kind of reflect what it is that's going on inside of yourself, and, you know, trying to connect with a man and drawing him closer, it doesn't like mean that you should stop having normal conversations. It doesn't mean that you should replace a normal conversation with just these words and phrases that we give you. That's, you know, I mean, he's not getting to know you that way. You're not vibing, you know, you're in that space. A lot of times when women do this and they're trying to do it, you know, again, it's coming from that space of being afraid of something, right? There was a woman in the chat that said she was afraid of the unknown, and that's what was caused. We're all afraid of different things. You know, a lot of people live their entire lives in fear. We all have fear. It's a healthy thing, actually, to have fear. It's helped us in our, you know, our you know, many generations back, and in our own lives right now. It stops us from dying in many cases, right? Because we're afraid of things. But in a lot of cases, it doesn't help. And you know, in this case where you're you know, connecting with a man and you're being attractive and you're, you know, communicating with him, and you have these verbal dialogues back and forth, coming from a space of fear usually is not very helpful. Coming from a space of love, coming from a space of confidence, coming from a space of you know, real genuine connection and authentic connection is usually a lot more beneficial. You know, if you need things to say, we can give them to you. You know, just don't try to replace them, because it's not healthy. You know, just think about, feel where you're coming from when you're using something, when you're talking to a guy. If you're coming from a place of, I need him to do this or be this way or act that way, you know, that he can feel that, right? And he feels it and he goes, oh, she's trying to, you know, what a lot of times it feels like for a man is it feels like you're trying to change him. Right? You don't accept him for who he is. You're not loving him because you're trying to get something from him. Or it might feel like, you know, you don't really value yourself, right? And like as soon as you flip, and Helena talks about this in the webinar that she created not too long ago. But you know, if you come up from a place of not valuing yourself, where you don't feel like you value yourself, and you bring that to a man, right? Whoever's most certain about their beliefs, their belief system, is the person that kind of gives their belief system to the other person. So if you come to a man and you have a belief system that you're not good enough and that he's not going to like you for who you are and all these other things, what's going to end up you're going to end up creating with him is a space where he doesn't value you. He doesn't like you. He doesn't, you know, all these fears that you have is what's going to be created in front of you with him. And so, you know, that's why it's so important. That's why we keep, you know, kind of harping on this whole idea of, you know, healing yourself and connecting with yourself. And where are you coming from? What space are you coming from when you're connecting with a man? Because it's so important. It's the foundation for everything, because you can have all the right words to say and maybe it'll trick them for a little bit, but a relationship isn't a little bit. It's long periods of time with being with someone, and whatever, you know, crap you have in your mind, you know, or healthy stuff that you have in your mind is going to come out, right? And it's going to, you know, he's going to see it. You're going to see it. You know, everybody's going to see it, because we all have it, right? We all have issues. None of us don't have issues, you know, like what Helena and I were talking about. We're both really awkward people. I don't know what Anya's like. She must be awkward too, or she wouldn't be hanging out with Helena. I definitely know I'm awkward. I was actually at the gym yesterday, and so next week I'm flying down to Florida, and I was talking to this woman at the gym, and she was like, she's like, oh yeah, what are you doing down in Florida? Are you going there for business or for pleasure? And I'm like, business and pleasure, you know. And she's like, I'm just gonna go with that. And like, she turned to walk away. I'm like, I was just so awkward right there. I wanted to like high five people, be like, I'm so awkward, yeah, you know. But yeah, you know, I mean, we all have issues, and that's not the problem, right? The problem, you know, like the fear is that we have issues and people aren't going to accept them, right? And the reality is that we all have issues, and we're all starved to be around somebody who be around people who are real. You know, like there's communities that that sometimes I'm a part of. There's one up north of here. It's called the Integral Center. I think they're actually closing down. But one of the things that they do is this thing called authentic relating, where you like sit with people and you try to experience what it's like to be that person, right? And you just let them talk, and then you kind of talk back to them and say things that you're experiencing of them in that moment. And what ends up happening is you kind of get into their body and you start experiencing them, and you know, real things usually end up coming up, and you have these really deep conversations, and people get addicted to this stuff because it's so amazing. You know, when you're living through your life and you're talking to people and everybody's like, hi, how's it going? You know, and you're like, fine, how are you? You know, and like deep inside you're like dying, you know, but you're, you know, everybody's afraid that they're going to be this weirdo that's saying weird things to people and talking about weird stuff, you know, but in reality, we're all humans. And what we're doing when we're acting like, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Perfect is that we're acting weird, right? We're not being authentic. We're not being real. And, you know, there's people out there that can't handle real, which is fine. You know, that there's people that aren't going to be in your life. You know, there's people that aren't going to be in my life, you know, and I'd rather be able to be real. You know, I'd rather be able to talk about real things with people than be stuck in this world of like living a lie and trying to be fake and pretending and saying the right thing all the time, you know, and buying, you know, I mean, it's not healthy. It doesn't work. You know, it doesn't work for you long term. There's only so long you're going to be able to keep it up. And so, God, I'm just going off on a tangent here. You guys want to cut me off here? What do you have to say about this?
I feel like you take notes because I have like 1,700 things to say now from what you said. But can I hop in? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I had this beautiful. I love every single thing you're saying, and I think with I used to kind of have shame over how deep I was. Like I was just like always having these deep conversations, and like I got this message from the outer world that like that was weird or like odd, and then I'm like, you know what? I really like being at this level, and I experience so much joy in finding people that can meet me there. And so I'm not going to worry about what those other people say, and therefore now my whole life is surrounded by people who like to live in this way. And I actually, like, that's the elevated woman archetype in a sense. It's like when you choose to be vulnerable first, you know, when you choose to make that leap and just share something authentically and transparently and vulnerably, humans are craving connection. This is a commitment connection. So connection is created when we share vulnerabilities and we share our true self. And so I think it's really powerful to build up that muscle, the courage muscle, to be the vulnerable one first. Like be the one to share something that might be a little bit uncomfortable to you, because I've noticed this over and over and over again. People like melt in your presence. They're like, oh my God, somebody who I can actually share something real with, or like I can actually release this stress that's been inside of me. And it's you become this automatic connection creator, and it's so beautiful. And I remember, I think it was like 3 years ago or so. I remember I was in Santa Cruz. I went to school there, and I was in my room, and I just had this flash of this understanding where I was thinking about all the people that I loved in my life. And I was like, you know what? What I love about these people is like, it's just their essence. It's like the way they get out of the car, and it's the way they laugh, and it's the funny things that we do together. And I realized that the people that were in my life that were bringing me the most value, what I was loving about them was simply their essence and these little things about them. And I was like, wow, if I love all these things about these people so much, it's like maybe they love me for my little quirks and my little essences as much. And even more recently, I did kind of a similar exercise where I just do this sometimes, where I write down people that I'm grateful for. I'll write down all my best friends, like this little soul sister, this list of names and people that I love. And the last time I did this, I included my own name. And it was like to actually include my own name on the list of people that I admire and love so much. I was like, wow, these people in my life must value me as much as I value them. And suddenly I was realizing my value at a whole other level. It was such an interesting thing. But anyway, I don't know if this is tangent, but
no, it's exactly, it's the other side of what we're talking about. Yeah, I would say men love about you what you love about yourself, right? So it's those million little things that you don't know you're doing. That's what is gonna make a guy fall in love, right? For your quirks and your just little idiosyncrasies. And so like I love my awkwardness. I know I'm super awkward. I see it in the comments under my videos. She's so awkward. You know, it's like that'd be more. It's like I know, I get it. I like that about myself. I do. I think I'd be, you know, I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't have that going on. So yeah. So everyone, let us, you know, what do you love about yourself? That it's those things that you think you might want to hide from others. That is what is going to make a man, you know, endear him to you. That's what he's going to find adorable and make him fall in love. Truly, right, Matt? You're a man, right?
Yeah, that's right. Figure out what you love about yourself, and then just let your awkwardness flow.
Yeah, and I think when we can laugh at ourselves too, like that's what brings so much lightness to it. I remember I had this laughing attack. I like with my ex, I just had this complete laughing attack. And I was literally on the ground. I couldn't stop laughing. And he like took a picture of me and I was like just laughing there. And it was just this shared memory that we have. It was just this funny little moment of true authenticity, like silliness. And those are the moments that men fall in love with, you know, really. Or like how we can't pick our ice cream flavor and how we will just all the little tiny things. And with this last key, like trying not to be we try to be perfect and we think we need to be perfect. Hair, skin, nails, body, career, perfume, like everything needs to be perfect. And it puts us in a box. And our true power as women is not at all a box. Actually, the masculine power is more of a box. It's a structure and a framework. So stop trying to put yourself in a box, because that's just putting you in this masculine framework. That's not really congruent with your true power. Like you're more of a circle. You go around and you'll have different experiences and express yourself in different ways. And that dynamic nature is it's the greatest gift.
That's what pulls the guy in, right? Yeah. That's what makes you like a magnet for him. It's that feminine energy, free flowing.
Totally spontaneous and random and ridiculous and silly and all over the place and fun.
Yep, that's right. Feminine energy. I mean, really, it is. It's like it changes everything, you know. And right now we live in this society where there's a lot of things that are kind of being shamed and under attack and stuff. Like, you know, there's a lot. I see it in our. We had it a little bit in our community for a little while, where women were kind of shaming other women and like attacking them, you know, for wanting to be feminine. I met someone a couple months ago who was like telling me that, you know, one of her dreams in life was to be a, you know, 1960s housewife. And she couldn't tell her friends about it because, you know, they like attack her and stuff and like really shame her for having these desires, right? And it's like, you know, who are you to, you know, I mean, why would you care? You know, if a woman wants to be feminine, if she wants to like, you know, be of service, if she wants to do whatever, I mean, why do you care? You know, I don't understand why people are trying to make people be a certain way. I mean, if you know, there's certain things that work, right? And we live in this society where we're like, okay, you know, we're evolved, we're man and woman, we're equal, you know, we don't have to do these things anymore. And you know, and there's a lot of power to that, right? There's a lot of service that women have been able to give to our world because of that kind of framework that we got into. And there's this other side where there's, you know, we have these biological drives and urges that we pretend don't exist, right? Or we're trying to pretend like they aren't there, you know, and we're trying to kind of move towards this more androgynous thing, right? Which it's on, you know, one, it's kind of harmful in a lot of ways because a lot of people shame masculine men, they shame feminine women. And it's that polarity that creates like a really strong, deep attraction, you know. And if a man, you know, when you see a man and he's like attracted to a woman, right, he's attracted to all these different aspects of her. And, you know, one of the aspects is her physical features, which I think is one of the reasons why we're stuck in this society where we have so much that's so focused on sex, is because, we've tried to remove these aspects of ourselves, of being men and women, where we have this masculine and feminine thing. And if that's not you, it's fine. But, at the same time, don't shame people for it, because we've kind of created this thing where a lot of people are like, we see each other and we're like, well, we want to have sex, but I'm not really attracted to her energy or her personality or all these things. And so when you come into a space with men where you are in your feminine, where you are connected to this amazing feminine energy that you have, it like separates you from everyone else that's out there, all the other women that are out there, because all these other women are, doing all these weird androgynous things, which is fine. I don't want to hate on anybody that's doing that. And at the same time, it doesn't create this powerful feminine magnetic pull that guys have when they walk into a room and they see this woman who's just in her feminine energy, and they're just like, oh my God, she's so hot. Which is what guys do, when they see that. You meet a woman that's in her feminine, and you're just like, and all the other guys are like, dude, you see her? And you're like, yeah, and you'll hear conversations, later on, and they're like, she's not really the type of woman that I'd go for, but I don't know, there's something about her that's just so unbelievably hot. And oh my God, I want to rip her clothes off and have sex with her and cuddle her up in a ball and take her with me everywhere I go. And you're just like, yeah, man. Yeah. I guess you guys don't have conversations like that with guys. Okay.
I always wonder what you're talking about. Well, yeah. And I think too, I love, again, everything you're saying. And the sex thing is interesting because this culture that has just objectified us all so much, both men and women, and taken the essence and the true power away of it. It's like we are just hitting the surface of what's possible in intimacy and relationship and love by staying committed to the image. We are, we're really denying ourselves of true dynamic intimacy. There's something else I was going to say, but now it's slipping my mind. But yeah, and just this is it. When we value, this is perfect. So remember in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, when you dressed like your best friend and you go to the mall together and get the same cherry outfit and want to be the same. And it was it was cool to be twins. And then later on, you're like, okay, I don't copy me. I don't want to be copied. And that's us moving away from this, this one way is the right way, I have to fit in, to actually realizing the more I differentiate, the more you go into yourself, your soul, and again, just get to know who you really, really, really are. You become differentiated and you become the star in the galaxy, and there's no other star that's like you. Therefore, you are such a high value being because there's literally no one like you. And then we really are all this, but we don't really believe that in ourselves often. So when you allow yourself to get to know that there's nobody else really, you will never exist ever again. You never have, and you never will in the exact same form and personality and energy that you do right now. Therefore, what makes something high value is that it's rare. And I think, and it's also what helps us realize there's no competition. I used to literally go into a party or a room, and I would literally judge the other women. I would categorize beauty, and I'd categorize rank. That girl's more beautiful than me, so she's more valuable than me. And those girls aren't as pretty as me, so they're not as valuable as me. I would literally do this. It was awful, but I did. It was natural. It was just what happened. And I'm not going to be mad at myself.
It's a natural thing. Yeah.
It's a natural thing. And I remember consciously shifting away from that, consciously choosing not to compare, and just basically realize that person is really beautiful. Everyone's really beautiful because they're all super distinct. But the point is I literally value myself so much. And I know there's no one like me. So you you are, once you come into that understanding that Matt is talking about, who like the guys see from across the room and they're like, whoa, there's like something about her. And it's because you differentiate yourself from the crowd. You're that shining, bright, beautiful star that they've never seen before, because no, they haven't. And they know that to experience you is to experience something so rare and so powerful and beautiful. And it comes from you valuing yourself at that way.
Yeah, and it's true. There is no such thing as competition when you are hooked up with who you are, right? You're in alignment with who you are. You're the one. No, he wants to be with you and come after you. It's not about trying to be perfect or fit into a box or anything like that.
And you're so good at talking about this stuff. You're like the master at that.
Really?
High value.
Yeah. She really practices what she preaches. I mean, just like going out in the world with Anya, like she just exudes love, and just like the reaction is just like unbelievable.
Well, Helena attracts us everything we needed more. Like she's like a magnet for everything. We're fun. Yeah. It's fun.
And it's because we like, I don't know.
We do practice.
Yeah. It's about embracing your imperfections. And just like, I feel crazy and chaotic today and everything's a mess. And I had a really rough week last week with technology breaking down and all these other things. And if I were, sometimes it's trying to hold it all together and be perfect is not where it's at, especially when it comes to attraction and making a guy fall in love. It's the completely opposite of that.
And all of our relationships. Like today, I literally was like, Helena, I'm having this insecurity come up. Like I'm having this insecurity. Like I was totally having this trigger happen. And I was just like, you know what? I don't want to hold this in. I'm going to bring it up to the surface and just share it. And it's just like that just creates, it's so much more connection and bond and closeness in our friendships, in our relationships. And it's like, it's really powerful when we get to that level. Yeah. It's practice. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So I just want to mention one more time, we just started getting this membership option on our YouTube channel. And so if you're enjoying these chats that we have, you love the beautiful and amazing Helena Hart and all of her great, advice that she gives on these subjects, and you want her to do some live streams for you. You want us to have live streams every week. Let us know, and we will, or let us know. Join. There's a link underneath this video that goes. It says "Become a member." Click on the link next to that and join up. It's $5 a month, and Helena Hart will be on here every week, and we will have guests on here, and we'll do live streams discussing what you want to talk about and your questions and the things that are going on with you. So I just want to thank everybody for being here today. We've run out of time. Thank you, Anya. Thank you, Helena. Thank you, Matt, myself. And thank you, everybody that's here. As I've mentioned before, you are the best part of our business and our community and what we have going on here. We couldn't do it without you. We're really striving to deliver as much value as we possibly can to you. And so, let us know, join our membership, join our Facebook community. It's the Goddess community on Facebook. Just search for it and join. And thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for being a part of this growing movement that we have to kind of reconnect and heal the divide between men and women in our country. Did you guys want to say anything?
I think you said, I'll just thank you so much. I don't even know if anyone's still watching because I can't see any of that. But thank you for watching till the end. If you are, we love you guys so much. This is so much fun for us, and we couldn't do it without you. So we hope to be doing more of these soon.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.